Presidency seeks peaceful resolution of herders' issues in Ondo, Oyo states. Nigeria's inflation rate hit 3-year high in December. In international news, Europe faces reshuttling readjustment as Pfizer-BioNTech announced delivery delays. And in sport, Chelsea sacks Frank Lampard. Thomas Tuchel lined up as replacement.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Former Senate President Olusola Saraki has called for peace in Ondo and Oyo states where crises are brewing over quit notices to herders. In some parts of Oyo state, properties belonging to Fulani herdsmen were burned because of tensions arising from opposing actions by the governor and a youth leader in their state. Governor Seyi Makinde says the quit notice is issued to the herdsmen in Igongon, Ibarapa local government area of the state by youth leader Sunday Adeyemo was illegal. Adeyemo says the herdsmen are responsible for insecurity, kidnappings and other forms of violence in the area, and they should go. Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu has ordered the Oyo Police Commissioner Ngozi Onodeko to arrest Adeyemo, also known as Igboho, and transfer him to Abuja. This has sparked tensions in parts of the state. Former Senate President Olusola Saraki has released a statement that these developments pose a threat to the unity of the country and that initiatives must be taken to douse the tension. He called on Nigerians to live in peace with one another. He also urged President Muhammadu Buhari to provide leadership by finding appropriate solutions. The federal government says it wants a peaceful resolution to the Ondo herdsmen conflict that has roiled sharp exchanges between the Ondo government and the presidency in the last week. The 7-day ultimatum issued by the Ondo state government to unauthorized herdsmen to vacate the state forest reserves expired on Sunday. In a bid to foster peace, the federal government has prompted the leadership of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria to hold an urgent meeting with Southwest governors today, Monday. South State Chairman of the Association, Garuba Bello, says the National Chairman of the Association, Abdullahi Badejo, as well as governors of Ekiti, Osun, Jigawa, and Kebbi states will participate in the meeting. Odra People's Congress, OPC, has warned the presidency and the Arawa Consultative Forum against playing politics and ethnicity with what it calls the worrisome state of insecurity in the Southwest. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control has confirmed nearly 1,000 new cases of coronavirus on Sunday, bringing the total number of cases in the country to 121,565. And CDC says the 964 new cases were recorded in 18 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The agency also recorded 2 new deaths as a result of COVID-19 complications, while 1,327 persons had recovered. Death toll stands at 1,504. Lagos recorded 360 infections, while the Federal Capital Territory had 88 cases. Ogun reported 73, Imo 72, Kaduna 67, and Plateau 57. The rest of the 12 states recorded high double to low single digits. Nigerians have been enduring economic hardships brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Supply chains have been disrupted, borders were closed, and prices of commodities have skyrocketed. The end result is now the highest inflation rate in 3 years, recorded in December. Correspondent Phil Hazer reports.
42 years old Abdul Idris sells foodstuffs at a local market on the outskirts of Abuja. He says business has been slow because customers are complaining that the items are too expensive.
Like rice, I sell 15 bags, 10 bags, even 20 bags in a day. But now, because of the increasement of the price of the all this commodity. To sell one bag in a day now, the thing hard.
Nigeria is facing its highest rate of inflation in more than 3 years at 15.75%, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The country's economy is also in a recession, and the value of the local currency, the naira, has dropped significantly against other foreign currencies like the United States dollar. As a result, the prices of most products, including food items imported into the country, are negatively affected.
During the Christmas period, things are always hiked, but this time around it was like ×3. There were things we used to buy. For instance, we used to buy a gallon of oil, but now we couldn't buy a gallon. We had to buy a smaller liter.
I've been in market now for like 1 hour plus now. Seriously, I can't really buy anything because price of things have increased. You understand what it takes. The one I have, I was able to buy just little.
I went there to buy yam, very high. I couldn't buy as much as I wanted to buy. I managed to buy just few tubers so that we can manage.
The average cost of a bag of rice is currently a little less than $100. This time last year, it was just over $50. Experts say this could push more people into poverty because the incomes of most Nigerians have not risen over that period.
According to the World Bank, a further 7 million Nigerians may slip into poverty this year. Analysts say the government will need to cut down on taxes on food items as a way to reduce the inflation rate.
Government is increasing taxes virtually every day. Now, if you increase tax, what happened clearly is that the price of those items in the market also increased. The value of the tax was increased recently from 5% to 7.5% or so. And that means that is going to add to the price of those products in the marketplace. They can make sure that those products are not vatable. And that can also bring the inflation rate down.
President Muhammadu Buhari has instructed the Central Bank of Nigeria to also restrict food imports to reduce further strain on the naira and instead boost local farm production. The aim is to reduce inflation, ease the burden on consumers, and improve sales for the likes of Abdul.
The police in Ebonyi State have confirmed 8 persons were killed in the unrest between Effium and Ezza-Effium communities in Ohako local government area of the state. Ebonyi Commissioner of Police, Aliyu Garba, said normalcy has returned to the communities, but at least 8 houses and a petrol station were burned. He said a leadership tussle at the branch of the National Union of Road Transport Workers in the area that involved old and new executives touched the nerves that resulted in the fracas. Garba said his command has ensured proper security in the area. He expressed confidence no further breach of the peace would occur in the area again. Commissioner for Border, Peace and Internal Security lauded what he called the police proactive response, which he said helped in restoring normalcy to the areas. The Deputy Governor has called for calm. He said the government would ensure this would be a permanent solution to the problem.
Coming up, African news. Inflation rates declines in Zimbabwe, sign of encouraging economic news. And later, international news. Europe faces rescheduling, readjustment as Pfizer-BioNTech announced delivery delays.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. There is encouraging news for the Zimbabwean economy. Inflation rates in the country has declined from a historic high, giving citizens hope better days may be ahead. Correspondent Farayo Wakutuya reports.
Efforts by the Treasury to rein in inflation that had spiraled to a 10-year peak paid off in the latter part of 2020 as the rate of price increases retreated in successive months. Though it did not reach the targeted 300% by year end, it was still a boon for hard-hit shoppers.
That decline in inflation also tends to affect disposable incomes. So what they could buy in the beginning of 2020, in the second quarter and in the third quarter, obviously there is a huge difference because prices would have more or less stayed at the same level.
The gains were achieved by containing money supply growth.
The major driver of inflation in Zimbabwe in the past 3 years has largely been unabated money supply, which was beyond economic growth. Last year alone, money supply grew by over 103%. So that does push inflation. So now, most producers and retailers have been allowed to transact in foreign currency. So what it does is that it reduces demand for foreign currency on the parallel market, which was actually very key in pushing prices up.
However, the restoration of multi-currency regime had some unintended consequences, such as multi-tiered pricing. Shoppers here say because of the market distortions, the value of the local unit continues to be eroded, and that has diminished their buying power.
There has been an improvement for those who earn US dollars. But if you get paid in local currency, it's still difficult to make ends meet.
We hear that the local currency has gained against the US dollar, but it's all in theory. The reality is when you try and go and shop, you don't buy much because things are still going up.
Authorities will argue that the numbers show the increases are at a much slower pace than before, a trend they hope to maintain in 2021, where average annual inflation is projected at below 135%.
The Kenyan government has launched a robotic technology which will test body temperatures and collect data of up to 200 persons in a minute. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the 3 machines donated by the United Nations Development Programme will minimize contact between doctors and patients in 3 Kenyan government facilities. The robots, which are already in use in Guinea, Rwanda and India, are customizable and can be used for other purposes, including scanning of workforce, teleconferencing and disinfecting of places. The move came as Kenya recorded 139 new cases on Sunday, taking the nation's cases to 99,769. The death toll now stands at 1,740 after 1 more patient was lost on the same day. Health experts are warning the country's infection rates might surge in March as schools close and parents mingle with their children. The coronavirus pandemic hit South Africa at every turn, now in its game reserves. As correspondent Travis Andrews reports, game reserves are struggling as steady flow of visitors dry up.
South Africa's Big Five is a top international tourism drawcard, and some visitors are willing to spend big to see them. They usually head to luxury private game reserves such as Shamwari, where private tailor-made tours can go for thousands of dollars a day. That was, though, until COVID-19 hit the country. The reserve's international business has grinded to a halt, and they've had to cut more than half of their staff.
Unfortunately, because the second wave has not just hit South Africa, but has also hit a lot of our key international markets, we started seeing some bookings coming through for the first quarter of this year from the international markets, the US and the UK, only to have all of that business cancel in the first 2 weeks of January and late December. Obviously, because the second wave has also hit those countries.
Now the reserve is relying solely on the domestic market to survive. They have altered their rates to make it more affordable to more South Africans. Like many other game reserves, they also had to rein in their costs and re-examine their business model to focus on the long run.
We've had to be innovative. We've had to reinvent the way we operate. We've had to find efficiencies, and that'll all hold us in good stead in the long run. It'll help us survive until that international business comes back. But I think gone are the days where a business model will rest solely on capturing the international market. I think if they're businesses, and if we're one of them, then I think we've learned, we've counted the cost of that arrogance, and we won't repeat that mistake.
With so many staff reductions and reduced salaries, the broad economic fallout of the pandemic goes far beyond the fences of game reserves.
Biggest impact, in our view, is going to be, it has been a reduction in the payroll, and therefore it has been a reduction in communities of people who are highly dependent upon the income that these private game reserves generate. If you can imagine, the private game reserves are located remotely. They're in areas where there's very little other economy other than the tourism income.
There is some optimism, though, that global efforts to roll out COVID-19 vaccines will soon start to stimulate the tourism industry. The sector in South Africa is expected to mark a recovery in the third quarter of this year. While natural and open environments at game reserves offer lends itself to a new normal, where social distancing has become a reality, private game lodges believe they have that in abundance, as well as a proven tourism product that will eventually recover in the long run.
When we return, international news. Europe faces rescheduling readjustments as Pfizer-BioNTech announced delivery delays. And later, sport. Frank Lampard has been sacked.
You are watching AN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The European Union has urged pharmaceutical companies to respect contracts already signed for the supply of COVID-19 vaccines, as Pfizer and BioNTech announced delivery delays because of production issues. At this year's World Economic Forum, WEF opened on Sunday with a Crystal Award ceremony recognizing artists. The Davos Agenda event is taking place virtually under the theme, A Crucial Year to Rebuild Trust. More than 2,000 business, governments and civil society leaders and 25 heads of state or government will attend the event virtually this week to tackle the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic and address the urgent need for global cooperation. The annual gathering, which usually takes place in the Swiss car resort of Davos, will end on Friday. The opening ceremony on Sunday also featured a welcome address by WEF founder and executive chairman Klaus Schwab and a special address by President of the Swiss Confederation, Guy Parmelin. 600 global CEOs are expected to represent the private sector in 140 sessions live-streamed to the public. A World Economic Forum says conclusions from the Davos Agenda Week would feed into task forces working on global issues for its upcoming special annual meeting in Singapore, which will take place in May. Residents in Serbian capital have loosened their awareness on preventing the coronavirus pandemic as local temperatures recently picked up. The recent highest temperature has been as warm as 13 degrees Celsius, while the lowest was minus 12 degrees Celsius a week ago. Statistics from the country's National Meteorological Observatory show that the highest daily temperature has stayed above 10 degrees Celsius in the past few days. Because of winter sunlight and outdoors warmer weather have attracted flocks of residents to hang out with their friends or families during the weekend. But people became less aware of preventing the transmission of coronavirus than before, as barely no pedestrian wore a face mask while walking along the streets or being when dining on the same table with others. World Health Organization WHO representative in Serbia, Dr. Mariam Iwazuna, says even though the spread of the epidemic is better controlled than last December, many new infections still occur each day and the death toll is still climbing. As a result, keeping social distancing and enhancing epidemic prevention and control are still very important. Hopes were fading for some victims of the gold mine collapse in China's city, but Chinese rescue teams have pulled out 11 of the trapped miners 2 weeks after being stuck underground.
After 2 weeks trapped underground, 11 miners are finally saved. Rescuers had to overcome extreme challenges. Clearing the shaft was difficult, and drilling created the risk of flooding. Sunday marked a turning point in the rescue.
Our expert team expected to take 15 days to drill an escape passage, but this morning we made a breakthrough as a big blockage in the shaft fell and was removed. That's why we sped up the rescue operation.
Multiple holes were drilled into the tunnels. Some were used to outpump water. Others were used to deliver supplies and detect signs of life. The main one was drilled to get the miners out, and on Sunday, the extraction finally began.
We used the bucket and rope to lift them out of the mine. In each section, we have rescuers to accompany the miners to ensure their safety during the lifting process. But first, their physical condition was checked by our rescuers, and their eyes were protected too.
More than 600 personnel are now involved in the rescue operation. An investigation into the cause of the explosion is still underway.
Up next, sport. Chelsea sacks Frank Lampard. Thomas Tuchel lined up as replacement. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit. We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Napoli striker Victor Osimhen is back in training after recovering from COVID-19 and a shoulder injury. The 21-year-old had tested positive for coronavirus on New Year's Day on return from a short holiday in Nigeria. He has been out of shape since suffering a shoulder injury in the match between Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Chelsea has sacked Frank Lampard after a poor showing that put the English club in 9th position on the Premier League table. Players have been told not to go to the training ground until Monday afternoon. Lampard is the 10th manager sacked during the Roman Abramovich era. His termination was confirmed after the club took decisive action following a torrid run of 5 losses in 8 league games. Abramovich described Lampard as a man of great integrity, but says it is best to change managers when the club is in mid-table. Lampard will be replaced by former Paris Saint-Germain and Borussia Dortmund manager Thomas Tuchel. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.